Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of CVtv Workshop. How are you? My name is Carlos, I'm your host, and my co-host Dave Dockin, owner of CoralView. How are you, Dave?
Doing great, man. Excited for the show today.
Too, and it looks like you're showing off something in the background. What's going on there?
I made a move out the office, and we so busy building these XP8s, they got me up here working on the SMT line. So I figured I'd set up shop in here and show what we're doing a little bit with XP8, kind of lift the hood, so to speak. Giving people a little idea of what we're doing with it.
That's fantastic. Well, everybody, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So if this is your first time visiting us, or hey, you stumbled upon this show, just don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, and you'll be notified right away when another episode comes live. Also, if you have any questions or anything, you can always head over to support.coralview.com, and one of our reps is going to be able to help you. So Dave, I want to say hello to David Paulson. I want to say hello to Greg Carroll. He's here. Mike Neal is here. Cal Anderson, Kevin, Danny as well. And I saw Jeff Bernadette in here as well. So we have a lot of regulars and a lot of new people in here. So this is awesome. So
thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining us so much. How's the weather down there?
Well, we got to start with the weather, and it's a nasty one today, Carlos.
Is it?
Yeah, our friends over in Houston have snow, and it may be heading this way, so it's kind of crazy.
Oh my!
So that's gonna, that's a problem for us in the South when it starts getting ice on the road. So, and keep it in mind with the travel there. We already getting updates from FedEx saying things are going to be delayed. So.
Yeah.
We got the XP8 shipping out, so might hold back a day or two, however long it takes to get those things situated, but it'll get to you.
I get it though. I guess when it gets really cold, you're just moving to this room, to the room where you're at, with that big furnace, furnace in the back. You don't need a heater.
Yeah. These things put some heat out, and it stays warm in here.
Yeah, so I know in a future show we're probably going to go over the machines and give us an introduction of everything going on there. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. So this is the SMT line. This is where the boards are produced, and then from here we move to another room where assembly takes place, and then packaging and down the line. So we'll give a tour of that and how it all takes place. But,
yeah, nice. Well, you're in Chicago, and over the last day, 24, 48 hours, we've had, I think, 6 to 12 inches of snow. So, yeah, yesterday I had to clear my garage, the front of my garage, 4 times during the day, just so it wouldn't pile on, and then, I pay for it after a while. So, but other than that, temperature's fine. It's not too bad. Electricity's still running. Here in Chicago, we just don't lose electricity.
Right. You guys are used to it.
Yeah, we know how to handle weather. Most people are like, is the electricity going to lose? Are you going to drive? It's like, you know what? And my wife, it was snowing like crazy yesterday. Is it closing? Nope. Get out, take public transportation, and get your butt to work, because everybody's open. We don't.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't close.
It takes more than a foot of snow to close Chicago. It's not like other cities. So
no, we're not built for it down here. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what is the show today? What are we doing today? What are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about the XP8. We've been mentioning it for a while, but it's finally getting out. We're in full scale production, and we wanted to go over the features of it and discuss what we're doing. How we're packaging it. It's a standalone controller, and it's also a part of what we call our Pro Packs now, which will include an XP8 with a controller and some accessories with it.
Yeah, we'll cover that a little bit later, but let's talk about what is the XP8.
So XP8, it's basically what you see. It's a high voltage AC device that controls your outlet strips or AC appliances, devices, and it's not just a AC controllable device. It's also a brain It's a controller in itself. There's really nothing like it on the market, Carlos. You can buy this alone or a part of a collective. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. And you can also power other devices through the command bus, so that we're eliminating more power supplies with this as well.
And the size of it is actually not that. The footprint of it is not too big. I mean, I know on the screen it says 9.5 inches.
No,
by 4
not at all.
3/4.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's got a hefty size. It's got a hefty weight. It's built like a tank, but it's not this humongous thing that is hanging on the wall.
Right. And one thing we really try to take into account for is the spacing on the outlets. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you got some wall warts, and it's like getting your hands in there to plug things in and trying to fit those bigger plug devices, like I said, wall warts. And so we try to account for that in the spacing, and just thinking, these little things.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like sometimes I hate when you have to plug things into an outlet and then you have to plug every other outlet because you can't.
Or you got to skip one. Or you got to skip one completely just so you could plug in that one wall wart.
Exactly.
And you got to have it. So
not only that, we're talking about the price of the. Sorry, I'm going to move my light here so it's a little bit better. The price of the unit. I don't want to skip an outlet because every outlet costs money.
Absolutely.
So I want to be able to use all 8 and not just 6 or 5 or even 4. So that's great.
Yep.
So the XP8, what can it do? I mean, what is it that can? I know we talked about being a collective, but let's break it down. And what is it that the XP8 can do for us?
Yeah. So besides it being its own controller, it can also control other devices, such as our other Wi-Fi devices.
My God, look at that. So it actually is a brain. So it could control it could not only does it control its own outlets, but it could control outlets from a Wi-Fi outlet strip. It could control the feeder. And on top of that, which is not included in here also, but if you have an XP8 and you open the app and that's all you have, you could also include, it could pull information from Focustronic, from the Alcatronic, from your Mastertronic, and use those as inputs.
Absolutely.
Which is incredible what it can do. And it's it could also become a part of the collective. So, for those people that are saying, well, it doesn't have any sensors in it. Well, it wasn't built to have sensors in it.
Right.
It wasn't built to do that. It was built, the number one priority of the XP8 is those outlets, reliability, wired instead of Wi-Fi, to controllers. So the sensors, they are coming from other devices that are wired to the XP8, So that's where that's where the goal of the XP8 was to satisfy that need. And not to add more sensors. Yes, the sensors would have been nice, but that's not the main goal of the XP8.
Well, and that's the feature of the command bus and being able to provide power and data through that line to your other HYDROS devices.
Correct.
Through a hard wire.
Correct. You know what? And I know that Justin is asking about the collective. And yes, we will actually, if you stick around, we will go over how to do the collective. But we're doing a step at a time. We don't want to overload people with a whole bunch of things or go jumping up and down, forward and backwards. So, so let's go ahead and why do you need an XP8, Dave? I mean, why do I need an XP8? Why can't I just use a Wi-Fi strip?
You could, Carlos. There's nothing, stopping you. We've sold probably 10,000 Wi-Fi strips in the last year, and I think a lot of people are taking shots at us with having that as a Wi-Fi device. But to be honest with you, it's really been incredibly reliable if you got your network set up properly. And I'm still using them to this day. But this, takes you into another dimension with the hardwired aspect of it being a brain, and look at the power monitoring. It's really something unique you know, in terms of what you can do with that when you can get notified that you got a device that's potentially going bad or has gone bad.
Not only that, Dave, I mean, it's like the XP8, as we talked about before, the reason of the XP8, the main goal of the XP8 is to add that wired option.
Yep.
So, you know, there is no, the XP8 by itself is the right choice. The Wi-Fi strips by themselves is the right choice. A combination of both is the right choice. But it's the right choice for you. May not be, but for the next person, it could be. So what we wanted to do, instead of telling people you have to use Wi-Fi or you have to use wired, is what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you the option. If you're that kind of person that doesn't trust the Wi-Fi strips, and that's perfectly fine, here is the XP8. If you're that kind of person that, you know what, I could go either way, then use both. Personally, I like the hybrid of both. You know, I like to be able to grab my critical system equipment and plug it into the wired. I want to be able to plug it into the wire. So, you know, then I can grab my pumps, my heaters, and those are connected directly to the XP8. And the XP8 is wired directly to my X4, to my X2, where my heater, my temperature sensor is. So there is no, I mean, unless somebody comes in and cuts the wire between the XS and the XP8, you know, that temperature sensor is always going to be able to send data to the XP8 and control those heater outlets. You know, and then if I turn around and I say, you know what, the XP8 is fine, my return pump, I use the XP8, but for my lights, you know, if my lights lose Wi-Fi connectivity for an hour and they stay on, that's perfectly fine. Do I need an XP8? No, I can use a Wi-Fi strip. So to me, the hybrid system or the hybrid setup is probably the best of, because you have the option to do that.
And think about the cost savings with that, Carlos. I mean, if you identify, like you said, here's my critical devices. Maybe you got something you deem not as critical. Why spend another $280 or $300? And you can spend $40 on a Wi-Fi strip.
Well, look at this. Look at this great slide, and you bring up a great point, Dave. Look at the slide. You know, so you have the XP8, which is 8 wired outlets, okay? And then the XP8 can control up to 8 Wi-Fi strips. Now, each Wi-Fi strip has 4 outlets. So you're talking about a total of 40 controllable AC outlets. You know? Okay, so now if I were to go to a different controller and purchase the same amount of outlets, I would be spending about over $1,400 just on the strips. There's no brain. There's no brain. So you know, just to have them, but I still have to spend the money to buy the controller, because $1,400 is only going to get me the strips. It's not going to get me the brain that controls the strips.
Correct.
So for the same number of outlets, you know, I can spend $500, $600 and it's there. So, you know, what we're trying to say is that not every outlet is created equal.
Right.
Not every outlet is as important as the next one, which means that my first 8 outlets are important. That's where my heaters go. That's where my return pump goes. That's where everything. But outlets 9 and up, they could be important, or they could be outlets that I could say, you know what, I don't need to spend that much money. I can spend $10 for an outlet, which is 4 outlets, $40, and then have controllability to control a fan, to control the lights, you know.
Or a refugium light, you know, something that's just not gonna, you know.
Do I need to spend $300 for that? No, I can spend $40 and get it out, and then save that, you know, save the $260 for a nice coral frag.
Exactly. That's why we in this, man. That's what we want, you know.
that is what we want, exactly. So, you know, the great thing about the XP8 also that people don't know is what we, you know, it's commonly known as fallback in the industry. You know, but the thing about the XP8 that is because it's got a brain in itself. All the configurations for your entire controller are stored in the XP8. The XP8 can make decisions by itself on what to do with the outlets. and not only smart decisions as to like on and off, but more like complicated decisions. Like if one outlet, if my outlet 1 is on, then turn outlet 3 off. You know, if
Yeah.
my lights are on, turn my refugium on, or if my
Right.
refugium is on, turn my pH off. Something like
Yeah.
that. That can be done without another brain. Now, again, the competition, they're just an outlet strip, so which means that without the brain, the outlet itself, the strip can't make that decision.
Yep.
All it can do is on and off. All it can do is on and off, but it's on and off not based on something else. It's just on and off based on what you told it to do. So
Yep.
the fallback is far more complicated. And as we've done here at HYDROS, is that we wanted to do is we don't want it to create a product that was just like anything else. We wanted to create a product that was better than what's out there. You know, and I think we've accomplished that very, very well. You know, one thing I wanted to let's talk about the construction of the XP8, the build quality. You know, because I wanted to, you know, people out there are saying, well, it's not UL certified or something like that, and I think that what we need to remember is the product is new, and UL certification takes a long time to happen.
Yeah.
So
we're under UL review, Carlos, and,
exactly.
and they actually require for this, you know, under UL as different certifications and or you know, devices that it's registered for in terms of UL, and this is for aquarium device. So they wanted to see multiple production units, meaning ones that we're selling and are coming across the line. But, you know, I'd like to, you know, let everybody know every part that we've put on this and every component are all either UL listed already or UL recognized, such as our ICs and the integrated components that are on this board. So there's nothing that we put on here that isn't already met that certification. So while it doesn't have the official certification, it's highly improbable that, you know, what would
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Plus,
so,
getting a UL certified costs money, which means that you want to make sure that when you submit this design, it is already it's as close as possible to certification as you can. So that in itself means that we've designed the XP8 with the intent of getting UL certification.
Absolutely, you know, it's a high voltage device.
Absolutely,
and so you know, that's what how we built it to meet that critical certification.
And
so if you know, if go ahead, Carlos. I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, if you know, if that's a concern of people at this point, our Wi-Fi strips have UL, and UL ETL is recognized the same standards. It's like they're part of each other and what they look for. So
yes,
but our Wi-Fi strip has that if that's your concern, and we will get this. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. You have to go through the process. Unfortunately, it's not as easy. It just takes time. And, you know, and on top of that, put COVID on top of that. And that means just add more time to it. You know, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. But what I want to emphasize on this is that when Dave and I and the entire HYDROS group decided to create this workshop, our main idea is to, you know what, let's be as transparent as possible. You know, let's just be transparent. I mean, there's no reason in hiding what's in there. There's no reason to hide, you know what, are you using Meanwell power supplies or are you using something else?
Yeah, are you using some, you know, open frame Chinese brick power supply inside? And that's not the case. Everything on this board, Carlos, is through hole, which means there's no pieces we purchase, you know, off the shelf somewhere and built into this box. So everything's on the board. The Meanwell power supply is a through hole. It's a in-case power supply.
Yes.
And look, it's made in China, but, you know, everybody knows, you know, if they know power supplies, Meanwell's, you know, they're at the top of their game when it comes to that. So,
Just
I
like
couldn't. Yep.
just like any other country, it's like
Yeah.
everybody, every country, China, Brazil, Mexico, everybody,
Yep.
there are good products and
Yep.
there are
And
not
bad.
so good products. So
Yep.
I wanted to emphasize that. But one thing that we wanted to do on this workshop is to actually open up one of the units and look at the PCB board.
Yeah,
Let's look at
absolutely.
everything. So why
Yeah.
don't we do that? I'm going to ask our producer to bring that second screen in there, which is part of why Dave is on this on this right here. So you can see it right there. And I'm going to bring April to bring in, please enlarge that because it's too small. So go ahead, Dave. Tell us what you got there.
Yeah, I didn't know if this was a live view of it, but you can see what we have here. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure this is lined up for the camera. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so first thing I wanted to show is look at the size of the circuit board itself. It's 2.5 millimeters thick. This thing is laid down with huge copper traces in it, and these traces carry all this high voltage. But it gives you an idea. It's not just this flimsy circuit board that's in here. You physically can't even break this thing in half if you wanted to with nothing on it. And it weighs a ton with all the copper that's been laid into it.
Correct.
But that's just one of the things to look at right off the top. But we, in terms of all of our ICs, all of these ICs here you see made by Texas Instruments, and they're used primarily in the automotive industry. And believe me, this was a trying ordeal getting all these chips with the shortage that's going on. But we stockpiled them and we're steadily building away. But if the automotive industry recognizes these for their critical standards, we felt pretty good, in what we were using. And Texas Instruments, they're at the top of their game. But everything you see here is all surface mount technology. There's no big film capacitors. Everything we are using is Japanese electrolytics. We're not using any, China-made electrolytics. That one of the most critical chips that we're looking at here is this analog devices chip. And I don't know if you could see it, but there's actually a slit in this board cut out. And the reason for that is this separates all the high voltage from the low voltage, or you might want to refer to it as either your dirty items versus your, what's carried through DC power or through your other HYDROS devices. The reason for that is safety. We want to isolate that high voltage from ever getting into those critical devices and possibly damaging them. So that's a really, key feature. In addition to that safety, we've got these heavy duty, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry, terminal blocks or relays. Sorry, thank you, Brandon. And in addition to the relays, is also, if I flip it over here, you can see the Meanwhile power supply that's encased here on the back. So, and this is where the high voltage goes in. This is internally, and the power cord will run into here through the case. So that's kind of what we're doing here. In addition to just the surface mount components, there's a lot of hand soldering that has to go into this board. All of these, you'll see these tombstones on here. This is where this plug, these are the plugs that you'll see from the front, but they physically press down onto the board through the top case. So everything, this is all high voltage. You want this very safe and isolated. So, that's kind of what we did here in a nutshell, Carlos. And there's 2 CPUs on here. So this is where we carry our Wi-Fi and storage. And the other storage devices, there's an SD card as well on here. Oh, I'm sorry, you can see it here. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell kind of what we're doing. Some people, they see an SD card status on the latest update. So all of our devices have an SD card inside of them, and that's storage.
That's right.
So
Okay, so I want to talk about the isolation, because I think that's really an important thing that we need to
yeah,
talk about. And I'm going to have April put a graphic in that kind of explains everything. So, right, Dave?
yeah, absolutely. So what you're looking at is your safe voltages versus what you may consider dangerous voltages or high voltages. So this really gives you an idea of how we're isolating the power that's coming into this and out of this device. So you can see through the command bus, you're isolating that, the Wi-Fi, and all of these are rated, for 2,500 volts, 4,000 volts of isolation. So it's a lot of power and a lot of isolation, and it's all about safety. That's the bottom line.
And that Meanwell power supply is a hefty one. That's not a tiny little one in there. That is.
Yeah.
And what I love about this whole thing, though, is as well as is passively cooled, right? There's no fan, no.
Yeah, that's another thing. This is everything, that's inside this box. There's no fan inside. There's no parts that are hanging off on the side inside that traces or wires on a frame. Everything is built to this board.
And what I like about it too, Dave, is that if we go, I'm going to have April go back to that board right there. When this is all done, and this is incredibly important. This is the utmost important. When this is assembled and everything is done, if you open the XP8, there's absolutely no wires running from one side of the board to the other. There are no wires going from one place to the other. The only wires that are coming in are the wires that are coming from the actual cable that is plugged to the AC to the wall. Those are which is on the underside of there's on the underside of the board, right where the Meanwell is. But there are no wires running. I know there's a lot of there's some Wi-Fi, there's some outlet strips out there that we currently use that have wires running all over the place, and it's just it's just not something that I want to be using when I do it.
I'm not going to say a whole lot on that, Carlos, but I can just show you what we're doing. We've done it, everything in our power to make something that we thought was, a nice quality, and it's all self-contained and robust. I mean, the thing is a brick. It's I think it's going to hold up. We've been running these ourselves for over a year now, remember?
Yes, we have.
And it would have been out a long time ago, but it's just everything with the pandemic and so. But it's also given us a lot more time to really hammer on this thing. We've put some serious voltage through this thing and tried to make it fail and beat on it. So
another thing that I wanted to mention is that unit actually has another board on top.
Yeah,
right?
I can actually show you that.
Yeah, and I'm going to have April, hold on, let me have April go back in there and put that board in there. Okay, so that board is there, and it goes on top.
Yeah, so that is for just seats on here. That's what you're going to see from the top. That's where you'll see the LEDs. But this is what carries the power to your two command bus, power and data.
But the reason why we did that is because that little board actually is isolated from the entire board.
Yeah.
So the command bus, the information going back and forth between devices is not being compromised by noise or by too much voltage. So that's the reason why we created that board in there, to even not only isolate the board itself and make it safe for humans, but also isolate the communication between the devices, the command bus, so that it wouldn't compromise the communication between the collectives. What's the point of having a wired strip if the noise is there's noise and and the communication gets muffled?
Yeah, for any of the techie guys out there, if they know anything about electrical noise, it's a hell of a thing to deal with. It's hard to pinpoint. It's hard to solve. So anything you can do to remedy electrical noise is a huge benefit.
Exactly.
One of the things, you know, somebody I saw making a comment, this chip is an ESP32W Rover. It's CE recognized. It conforms to UL standards. This is kind of what you'll see in all the boards that we're using for HYDROS, and it's a very robust
Yes.
Wi-Fi chip. So just wanted to point
All
that
right.
out.
So can you turn the board Can you turn the board upside down, Dave? I want to point something out too as well.
Yep.
So you see those little 4 chips below the Meanwell power supply? There's 4 chips laying around there. They 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the chips that measure the power, the measuring, the current measuring resistors. Those are the ones. So we use hardware. We use chips to measure each individual outlet instead of using software or some kind of software computation where you measure the draw against what pulling in and all that. So we're actually, I'm sorry, they're resistors. So they're resistors. They're current measuring resistors that will allow us to measure the draw of each of the outlets. And there's 4. There's 4 at the bottom and 4 at the top for each of the outlets as well.
Yeah. And then I should point out too, Carlos, this doesn't have it on it, but there's a real-time clock. This is another little board that plugs onto here. And then this is a beeper. This is what you hear giving you an audible alert. So, and then this is where the AC plugs into.
Correct.
And these are for internal when we're programming it for loading software on. That's all those are.
Exactly.
So, but everything's on board. There's nothing else in the box, and works.
That's fantastic, Dave. This is so good. I mean, I know that, you know, we wanted to do this. We got nothing to hide. Plus, you know, anybody can grab that and open it up and open up. But which we do not. We do not recommend do that. You're talking about very high voltage in here. So.
Well, I was going to point that out too. If anybody tries, you know, to get that board off of there, these things, once they're on, it's real difficult, and you could cause serious damage to the board
if you
unless you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And we can't help you at that point because all these through-hole parts, it's a big job to try and pull parts out of the board.
But the way it was designed without wires, without the way it is, it's a pretty robust, strip, and then the software on top of that will help you. So this is amazing. I'm glad that we did this. I'm glad that we opened up the thing and showed everybody what's in there for those people that are like, because there's people out there, they're very smart and they look at it and you know they check everything, and I want to just, you know what, here it is for you. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So now the Control XP8 is our newest product. Now we are pretty much live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you like what you're watching, this is CVT Workshops, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, hit the little thumbs up icon, and then you'll be notified right away when we have a new show. As well, we also have this awesome CoralView Cares group on Facebook. It's a group of folks that are all in the hobby and are willing to share information. So CoralView Cares, Community Aquarius Research, Education, and Support. It's a group. You can ask any questions you want, and then somebody, either us or some fellow hobbyist, is going to answer the question. If you want actually more personalized help about a product that you have from CoralView, you can always go to support.coralview.com, and one of our reps is going to be able to help you. We recommend, if you're having issues, I know everybody loves to go into Facebook. You know, Facebook, you're going to get other folks to help you. But if you go to support.coralview.com, you'll get a CoralView tech to help you. And trust me, you know, probably it's going to be a little bit faster when the tech helps you, you know, unless it's a simple problem. So please, we recommend, what Facebook is great. If you have a problem, please head on over and submit a ticket. It's just faster. Plus, on Facebook, sometimes we can't ask you questions that we need to know in order to help you because it's a public. So we have to, there's only so many things we can ask you and so forth. So it makes it very difficult for us to help you. So please, support ticket is the best way to get a hold of us. If you
And it helps you guys log in, which brings me to another thing is don't forget about our service account.
yes,
So just like you can log into someone's system, now you can share your device with somebody else who may be able to help you. You can give them full access.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, and well, that's one of the new features that we'll cover a
yeah,
little bit. We'll cover
yep,
later on a
no
probably
problem.
on a different workshop. But yes, you can do that. But if you're having help, just head on into support. If you're one of those people that does not like, if you don't like Facebook, you don't like, other things, just send an email,
Yep.
support@corelv.com, and we'll be able to answer your questions. That's great. So this is awesome, Dave. The XP8 is. You tell me that it comes in different packages. So we are
Yeah.
selling it as package. We sell it as a standalone product, but we also sell it with a combination of other products. So what do we do? How are we selling them? I know we
Yeah.
sell an X3 Pro Pack.
Pro packs are what we calling them. So that gives you a controller, an X3 as you see here, and as well as the XP8, a temperature sensor, the pH probe, and what you'll need because you're setting this up from the get-go as a with the command bus as a collective. You need the command bus cable and also 2 terminators.
That's fantastic. And we also have a Pro Pack for Control 4, correct?
Absolutely. So that's kind of our higher end, the Control 4. So same thing. It's just comes with the X4 instead of the X3. Setup's the same in terms of you'll put that into a collective from the get-go.
That's fantastic. No, so now the XP8 also not only does it add the outlets, the wired outlets that we're looking for, but it also, because it's a brain, it also adds redundancy to your system.
Yep.
So when you add an XP8, you're making your entire hydro system, what's watching your tank, even stronger than it was before. So now you have another brain that could take over and do the tasks.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but it also can take over all the Wi-Fi strips. So if something happens to your Control 4 or your Control 2, which is pretty much controlling your Wi-Fi strips, if something were to happen to that, then it goes right into the XP8, and the XP8 will come into online and pick up the slack and tell the Wi-Fi strips what to do. You know, so not only does it have its own outlets, but it also can control other Wi-Fi strips, which is great. And on top of that, it's a power giver, so it can actually power the outlets and it can power the control that is connected to it. So let me go to some examples of how to create a collective in here. And I'm gonna go to the next picture, and we're gonna create an example because I know people were asking us earlier about collectives. Okay, so here's a collective that was created. It has a wave engine LE, a Control 2, and an XP8. You know what the great thing about this is, Dave, is that 3 of the devices have their own power supply and can power other devices in the bus.
Correct.
So if my wave engine LE goes down, my wave engine and my XP8 can power the Control 2. If my wave engine goes down, my wave engine LE or my XP8 can power the Control 2. Let's even push it. If my wave engine and my wave engine LE go down, my XP8 can still power the Control 2 and get it going. So there are many ways. And the great thing about the 3, the wave engine LE, and the XP8 is that they're power givers, but the power is also isolated. So the power can go out, but it cannot come back in.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means that if I plug in the wave engine and then I plug in the wave engine LE and I put them in a collective with a Control 2, the power supply from the wave engine won't burn out the power supply from the wave engine LE. Because again, both the wave engine LE and the wave engine can give power, but they also stop the power from coming back into the power supply and destroying it. Same thing with the XP8. The power from the XP8 cannot damage the power supply on the Wave Engine LE, or the power supply on the Wave Engine LE cannot damage the power outlets on the XP8. So you can connect them with a regular blue command bus port, command bus cable, which is power and data. Okay, you can only so Wave Engine LE, Wave Engine, and the XP8s are power givers. They are isolated, so you can put them in the command on the collective, and you don't have to worry about them damaging the other power supply, which makes it great because if you have a big collective, you can put a Wave Engine on one side and an XP8 on the other side, and then both of them will back up each other if something were to happen to one of them without damaging each other, which is awesome. So let me go into the next picture, which is a different collective, okay? And there's another example. Now you have a Wave Engine, powering a Control 4, powering a Control 2, and it's also connected to the XP8. And this is kind of like what I was explaining just now, where you have a large collective and then you have two power givers on each end. And if either of the power givers were to fail, the other one would power the entire command bus. So, and again, because the XP8 and the Wave Engine are power givers and they have isolation, then you don't have to worry about them burning out the other power supply. So you can use regular command bus data and power. The only thing I'm going to say right here is that you always, anytime you do a collective, and I know this is something that people on Facebook and people at support come and ask for, is the terminator. You need a terminator. We recommend at least one terminator per collective, but 2 terminators would be great. Don't add more than 2 terminators. So technically what you're doing is you're adding a terminator on each end, and that's it. Don't put more terminators because that doesn't work, okay? More terminators doesn't make it better. Actually, it actually makes it worse. So 2 terminators tops, 1 terminator minimum, but that's what you want to do. And it makes life a lot easier. And that's not something that we do with HYDROS. That is part of the CAN bus technology that we're using, that is used by airplanes, that's used by cars. And if you're an engineer, those airplanes and those cars, they also have terminators incorporated there. Obviously, you don't want a pilot to not forget to add the terminator before they take off. So it's already there installed, but they do have terminators.
It's a part of the protocol that's required for CAN bus, and that's all it is. It isn't a hack. I know we've said that before, and it isn't an afterthought. It's just it's what is required. One thing I'd like to point out is a lot of people are going to be looking to purchase XP8 that already have purchased or bought into HYDROS, but the XP8 alone will not include the command bus cable and the terminator. So if you do plan on putting it into a collective, then you'll want to have purchased that command bus cable and the terminator. If you're buying a Pro Pack, then it's included with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. This is Carlos and Dave from Coral View's workshops, and here we're talking about the new product, the XP8, and kind of the opening it up.
Yep.
Full transparency. Open the hood and pop the hood out and up and take a look at it. That's what we're doing. On the next segment, I'm going to teach you how to add the XP8 to a collective and some of the features that we have in terms of power monitoring.
Nice.
So first, before we do that, let's hear from our sponsor.
Oh,
yeah,
I love it.
I, every time April just keeps,
April.
you know,
Yep.
keeps getting better, keeps getting better. So,
It's
hey,
bumping in here.
this is Carlos and Dave, Coral View CVtv Workshops, and everybody, welcome again. I want to say hello to Justin. I want to say hello to Greg again. Michael Christopher is here. Mauro Gonzalez is here. You know, Jaco Reeves, and thank you so much for visiting, and thank you so much for viewing. It's a pleasure to have you, and we're happy that you guys are here to learn about the XP8. We just want to put it out there and just make sure that everybody sees what they're getting, that what they're purchasing.
Yeah,
which is literally what we wanted. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to add the XP8. So one of the great things about the XP8 that I like about it is that when you, and I know some people that have it already have noticed that, as soon as you plug it into power, you open up the box, you plug it into power, and all of a sudden it starts click, 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 and you see the light, outlet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's done booting up. And what we do is that actually, when you first turn on that unit, it runs through a test cycle and it checks every single relay.
Yep.
And if one of the relays fails, it'll give you an error, you know? And that's mainly a test that we do internally ourselves here at Coral View when we are putting that light together. When we put the light together, we burn it with the firmware, and then we plug it in and it goes through the cycle, just to make sure that every single outlet, when it goes out, every single outlet works correctly. Okay, so when you open up your XP8 and you plug it in for the first time and it has no outputs configured at all, it's empty, no configuration, it's going to run through that cycle. As soon as you configure it with one outlet, whatever, a heater or a fan or a light, whatever you want, as soon as you do that, then it doesn't run through that cycle anymore. All right, so you're not, so every time you're going to, so you don't have to worry about it. Every time you plug that XP8 and plug it in, it's going to turn your metal headlight on and then back off. No, it doesn't. As soon as you configure an outlet, then it doesn't do that. Okay?
That's just an internal kind of diagnostic, Carlos,
exactly.
You know, and it gives the customer a feel good too, that knowing that it's all functioning properly right as soon as they plug it in.
Absolutely. You know, and Greg Carroll said that with that song, I was going to break into a dance. Well, you should watch my TikTok account. I don't know if people want to watch that. I'm probably going to do that. All right.
Please don't.
So let me go ahead and share that screen. I'm going to have April share my collective screen, my handy dandy empty collective here. So I have a HYDROS collective that I've created with a Control 4, my test collective that everybody kind of knows already. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you. Here is my XP8, which I already added and connected it. And you know what the great thing about the XP8 though, Dave, is that it connects to your Wi-Fi. It runs through the Wi-Fi setup the same way your Control 4 did, the same way your XPS, the same way your X2. So if you've done the Control 4, if you've done the XS or any other HYDROS product, you know how to do this, which is the great thing about it. We make it as easy as possible. All right, so I have my XP8. So I'm going to head back to my collective here, HYDROS. I see my XP8. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to devices. I'm going to go ahead and add my XP8 to the collective. XP8, here are my outlets. Look at this. Right now they're unused, so I haven't configured anything. So what I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to go ahead and configure the outlet. Might as well do this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to call this, let's call it a fan, okay? And it's just going to be a constant outlet that I'm going to do. So I'm going to do constant outlet, output device. Check this out. Everybody that's worked with HYDROS already, you go to output device. This is where your Wi-Fi outlet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are there, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5. So all I have to do is take a look at this. That's it. I would have my Wi-Fi outlets here, 1 through 5, and now I have my Control XP8 outlets right here. Yep. I have my drive ports for my Control 4, or I have my Control 4 0 to 10 outputs. I don't have a Wi-Fi strip, so it's not showing, but that's it. So just as easily as I choose a drive port, or as easily as I choose a Wi-Fi outlet strip outlet number 1, I just go to Control XP8 outlet 1. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and upload the changes as Dave holds on with dear life.
Always, huh?
always making sure, always making sure that it doesn't fail.
Especially with
Now,
all the weather problems.
I know exactly, but the beauty about it, see, there you go. Sometimes it happens. So all you got to do is wait for the upload changes again. And then hopefully the second time around, it'll go through, and there you go. It went through the second time around. It happens, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to go into it's a fan right there and it's already running. Look at that. That's how easy it was to create an outlet. And you can create multiple outlets if you want. You can add heaters. You can add your return pump. You can add protein skimmer, whatever you want. Now, the beauty about this outlets is that this XP8 is hardwired. There's an actual physical wire running from the X4 to my XP8.
Yeah.
Which means that if I lose Wi-Fi, doesn't matter. Because the two devices are not connecting. They're not communicating to each other via Wi-Fi. They're communicating via that wire that's running in there. So if I lose my Wi-Fi, or if I lose my internet, or if I lose anything, you know what? The Control4 temperature sensor is still going to be able to tell the XP8 real time the temperature of the tank, and the XP8 is going to be able to turn the heater on or off anytime it wants, without having to rely on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
it's hardwired. So hardwired doesn't mean that you're hardwired to the internet. Hardwire means that you're hardwired from each HYDROS device to the other. You're almost creating a closed network, a closed loop of
correct.
Isolated from everything else, that unless you physically go and cut the cable, then there's always going to be communication between the two of them. And that's what makes the XP8 so great, for those folks that don't feel that Wi-Fi is reliable enough yet at this time. That's what makes it so good. All right. So that in itself tells you right there, what the capabilities of the XP8 are. On top of that, the XP8 can also monitor your voltage. So take a look at this right here.
This is what I really love, Carlos.
Take a look at this right here. So I clicked on my tile that I have a fan connected to, and look at this. The voltage is 121 volts. 385 milliamps, and my little fan is, well, it's not a little fan, it's a big fan. And it's in a different room, so it's not too loud, but it's pretty much drawing 46.7 watts, 46.47 around that. You can see everybody there, right there. Here's the beauty about the XP8. We have this power monitoring range right here. So you don't tell the XP8 this is going to draw 50 watts, or it's going to draw 55 watts, because it never draws exactly that. It goes back and forth, there's a range. So what you do is you create a safe range where that this piece of equipment is going to draw wattage in this safe range. Anything outside that safe range, when it's not actually off, is bad, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So if my fan draws about 47, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and I'm going to type, I'm going to type 40. And then I'm going to go ahead and type, I'm going to type 50, something like that. There you go. Click OK. It moves it in there. I'm going to make the power notification level red. And then I'm going to go ahead and upload the changes. All right, so now we have a fan that is running at 47. Everything is good, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I connected this fan to a smart outlet that I have, so I can from here turn off the smart outlet, which turns off the fan, but the outlet on the XP8 is still on. Kind of meaning the fan went bad, correct?
Yeah.
The fan is gone. So the XP8 is expecting the outlet is on, which means that the XP8 is expecting between 40 and 50 watts. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off right now. Okay, give it a few seconds, hopefully. Look at that. So not on the outlet now fell to 1.8 watts. So there's something wrong going on there. And on top of that, look at that right there.
Yep.
boom, power alerts 1 watt. And I wish you could hear in the other room, the collective right now is beeping. And based on my, based on what I want in terms of notifications, I could have a push notification, I could have an email. So now let's say, you know, I go back and fix the problem. I go ahead and you know what? Ooh, I fixed it. I changed the fan. It's a new fan now. I plug in the new fan and look at that. Went back to 47.3 and the notification went away. That is the cool thing about the XP8. That's what makes the XP8 so much better.
And Carlos, you know, a lot of our electrical devices, they'll give us a telltale sign that something's going out or something's wrong by being able to monitor power like that and get a notification.
Well, Dave, here is the thing about it is that, you know, it's like software is great and we've done this, you know, software is the alarm and everything, but here at HYDROS, because we want to make things better than what they are before, better than what everybody's used to. You know, it's like we don't want to have just, oh, that's what everybody else does, so we are going to do it again. Mm-hmm. No, here at HYDROS says that's what everybody else does, so we're going to do it, but we're going to make it better. So what we do is, here's the cool thing about it. I went ahead and grabbed that XP8, and here, as a test, I plugged in a space heater to my XP8. Wow.
Big energy.
Space heater draws about 1,200 watts. That is about 11 amps.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a reason why space heaters cause a lot of fires if it's not done correctly. There's a reason for that. But what I wanted to get to is that not only the picture is not only you're drawing too much, which means that my software, the app is going to tell me you're outside the range, because the software is not only going to monitor if you're below the range, the safe range, it's going to also monitor if you're above the range. So I'm expecting 40 to 50 watts, and all of a sudden I'm drawing 1,200 watts. So it's going to give me a notification, but also take a look at what the XP8 does. You see that outlet at the top? That's where my space heater is. You see that outlet is red.
Yep.
So not only the XP8, the software is telling you, hey, there's a problem here. The XP8 itself, there's a red light that it turns on and says, hey, you're drawing way too much power. This is way beyond what this outlet is rated for, which means the resistor inside is getting hot, and it's getting hot fast. So that happens right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the question that we wanted to do with, you know, the engineer and I are thinking about this, and, you know, Dave and the entire team is like, what do we do, Dave? What does everybody think? Should we let the outlet be on and damage the unit? Should we shut down the outlet immediately? Or should we wait about 15 seconds so the customer can see what's happening and then shut it down? You know, what option do you like the best? You know,
you choose. You can choose.
You can, you know, well, no, we're trying to ask people what the option they like. I think for me, the option that I like the best is probably run it for about 15 seconds if possible, and then shut it off. You know, unless it's much, you know, instead of just shutting it off, instead of turning it on, and it shuts off immediately, which means it's great, but it doesn't tell the customer what happened, so the customer can't see what the problem is.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that we're going to do in the firmware. It's going to be that in an update, a quick update that we're going to do soon, is we're going to do that. So if you are overloading the outlet, the HYDROS is going to shut the outlet off for you. So it's going to prevent you from burning down your house. Yeah. It's going to prevent you from having issues, from destroying your XP8.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's huge.
You know. So some people are saying shut it off immediately and flash, which I think is a very good idea actually too, or turn it on for 15 seconds and then shut it off. We'll figure out which one is the safest way to do it, you know, depending on the hardware. But I think that's something that we're going to do, you know, that I think it needs to be done. You know, another thing that I wanted to do also is it's easy to control. You don't have to learn new software. If you know how to use an XP4, you know, I'm sorry, an X4, you know how to use an X2, you can use an XP8.
Yep.
You can use an
Absolutely.
XP8. You can use an
And no
XP8.
coding to set any of that up. It's just all our widgets. It's the same as before. So
Exactly,
super
exactly,
easy.
exactly. So those folks that were not too sure about the Wi-Fi strips,
Yep.
that's a fair assessment. I think some people, you have that option. So we at Hydros did not want to force you. Oh, you only have the option of Wi-Fi, or
Yeah.
you only have the option of wired. We wanted to give you the option of both.
Yeah.
Again, not every outlet is created equal. Not every outlet should cost the same. So heaters, pump returns, important things, put them on the XP8. But after that, do I really need to pay, that much money for an XP8? Probably not. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. But if you don't, but you still need outlets, get yourself a Wi-Fi strip.
Yep. It's
That's the
beautiful.
great thing.
Save that money for that coral, man. That's why we're
Exactly. Exactly. So you're watching CVtv show here. My name is Carlos, and I'm here with my co-host Dave Dokken, owner of CoralView. Behind him, we have the SMT machine running, creating those XP8 boards. If you like the show, if you like what you've seen, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Hit that bell, and you'll be notified right away whenever we have a live show. Subscriptions is what makes the show happen. Dave sits down in there with marketing and sees how are those workshops, are they being viewed, and we go by subscribers. So if everybody subscribes, we'll keep doing the shows, we love doing the shows. If you have any questions, you have several options. If you're a Facebook fan, head on over to CoralView Cares. Community acquires research, education, and support. You ask any question and anybody can answer it. There's plenty of fellow hobbyists out there willing and happy to help you. If you want more personalized help for a product from CoralView, head on over to support.coralview.com, and then you'll get a tech person to help you. And if they need to, they'll schedule a call and get back to you. Or if you're a HYDROS fan, you can always head over to forum.coralviewhydros.com, which is a community of fellow hobbyists that are using the HYDROS product, the HYDROS world, and they will be able to help you with questions about outlets, XP8, programming, and so forth. It's straightforward, but I know everybody's different, so there's always help out there. So, Dave, it's a pretty good show, right?
Yeah, I hope people enjoyed it, and take a look at what we're doing here, and we'll continue to do it and take a peek at things coming down the line, and we'll do it again. So nothing to hide here. We try and be transparent, and if we can make it better, we always open to suggestions, and we like hearing the feedback. So
yeah. Well, before we go, I'll like to answer a couple questions. How long does it? And this is a great question, Dave. How long does it take to assemble one board for the XP8?
Well, it's kind of it's a difficult question. I don't know if we got it down to an exact time, but in order to run these boards, we have to do 2 passes because there's parts on both sides. So that takes process of changing stencils in the machine, and then right now you see the machine running. We're actually running it at its slowest speed. Just because the video going on, if we were really cooking, it gets noisy in here. But that's as slow as we can physically move it, just so we can keep production going during this time and keep it moving. And then there's a lot of handwork involved in putting the relays and the tombstones. And so I guess I really haven't calculated the physical time that it takes to make one.
Exactly.
But I need to do that. So thanks for bringing that up.
It also has to do with how much coffee he's had. There was another question about the collective and the terminator. We recommend put terminator at the end. It doesn't matter which end. It doesn't matter if it's the left or the right. As long as you put the terminator on either end, you'll be fine. And that's why we say 2 terminators is best. 2 terminators is optimal. So you put 1 on each end. But if you only have 1 for now, one is in back order or 1 is coming in a few days from here, it doesn't matter. You can put it on the left or the right. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's on the left where the power is or it's on the right where the end is. It really doesn't make a difference. As long as the terminator is within the CAN bus, in the bus, you'll be fine. You'll be okay.
A lot of people are asking Carlos, when are they coming? When are they going to see them available? They shipping out now. They've been shipping out. We want to support stores, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to get some on the shelves. And if you got a local store and you don't see them carrying HYDROS and you're looking for it, ask them, tell them about it. You know, a lot of store owners, they're hesitant to change, and I know we're the new guys on the block. We may not have 20 years, but I can promise you we got the latest technology and what we're doing here.
Exactly.
And we're trying to always improve on it. So give your local store owner a nudge, tell him about it, and ask them to bring it in. So it only helps them. They make money, you know, selling the product, and it's good for everybody. It's good for the industry, and that's what we want to have, a sustainable industry here.
Correct. So,
and there will be shipping to the online retailers. So don't worry about that. They're heading out there too.
That's well.
You know, bear with us if they sell out fast. It's we're doing everything in house and building them as fast as we can. So if you see it in stock and you want one, grab it, because it may not last long. So
yeah, I know they are. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Tim, Don, I want to say thank you to Greg, Sawyer, you know, Jeff Bernadette. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Carlos and David Dawkins, you know, hosts of CVtv workshops. We were doing a workshop on the XP8, opening the hood and taking a look at it. And please take a look at the, you know, if you're catching the show right now or you're catching it as a rerun, you know, hey, hit that pause button, take a look at it, you know, zoom in if you want. Trust me, that XP8 board is amazing. Like I said, we've created it correctly. There's so many layers. That thing is 2.3 millimeters.
2.5 millimeters thick.
2.5 millimeters thick. There's so many layers in there. There are no wires running, you know, from one end to the other as other strips out there, you know, industry and non-industry related. So we wanted to do this. We wanted to do everything correctly. It's UL. It's designed to pass UL. It's already been submitted, but that takes a little time to happen. And there's a lot of safeties in this, software-wise and hardware-wise, that will help you and make sure that, you know, something doesn't, you know, there's no catastrophe.
No damage, you know, to your home or to your other electrical devices. So that was a key part of the engineering behind it.
Yes. So this weekend they'll be in stock. Check out your local fish. Check out your local fish store. If they don't have it, please demand that they have it. You know, that, you know, just tell them, give them a nudge and say, hey, carry it. If you're an online person, they already shipped, and they'll be hitting the online stores very soon. And they shipped before the weather got really bad, so some of those online stores already have it. So thank you again for your support. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.